Hey, welcome to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit 1980s Airplane! Exclamation point. So, put on the seatbelts and get ready. Get ready for this episode.
Welcome, everyone, to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And we are revisiting Airplane! Exclamation point, from 1980, starring Julie Hagerty and Robert Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, when was the first time you watched Airplane?
Because we begin as we always do.
Oh, stop it.
Talking about Ben.
Stop. No one likes when you correct. No one likes it.
First of all, this is written and directed by the Zucker brothers and Jim Abrahams. My relationship with Airplane is
Are you gonna say it like that every time?
No. Is it's a good relationship. I used to love this movie. So I was about 8 when this came out. I don't think I started the movie. Maybe I started at the drive-in with my mom and dad, or just my dad. But I remember this movie very fondly. I definitely remember feeling like I watched it every time it was on cable, or just going to the VHS store and popping it, grabbing it, renting it again. But I remember really loving it. I remember laughing so hard at the jive, because it was Barbara Billingsley, and I remember that so well, when she's like, "I'm sorry, stewardess, I speak jive," and just seeing these actors sort of out of context and serious actors being funny and that kind of thing. But I remember Otto, the inflatable guy, but there's so many memorable visual, the sweating pouring down his face, So I truly remember so many funny moments. I used to love this movie. How about you?
I agree 1000%. I also loved this movie. I believe I saw it on video for the first time.
Okay.
I don't think it was in the movie theater, but I also, every time it was on, I watched it. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I remember laughing my ass off over and over again. Yeah. And it was what was great about this movie was it was one of the first movies that did this sort of humor. Mm-hmm. This sort of obvious,
yes,
but over the top wordplay kind of humor.
Visual gags. It was
just shocking kind of things.
Yeah. Things
that you just didn't expect. And it worked for me. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I watched it many times. And a very, very quotable, very memorable. Yes. So, yes, I loved this movie.
How long had it been before you rewatched it?
40 years. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
Mostly because it just hasn't really been on TV. And so when we decided to rewatch it, I was a little bit nervous, as sometimes I am, when rewatching things, because it was one of those movies I'm like, I don't think this is going to stand up. In my mind, I'm like, this is going to be a stupid movie.
Or just offensive. Because,
offensive.
In this day and age,
I'm yes,
correct.
I agree. Yeah. I was a little bit worried about representation of everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Yeah. This is not going to be funny. It's going to be offensive.
Yeah.
Almost like Smokey and the Bandit, our revisit of Smokey and the Bandit. A lot of those things you liked, but I was offended by. But anyway, so when did you rewatch it?
Probably a week ago, so it's a time to sink in.
Yes, same. And what were your thoughts about the now?
So it's funny. The general note here is there are some things that went right over my head when I was a kid, and there's some things that I think are really sophomoric to the point where I'm like, I can't believe I ever thought that was funny. So it's a really mixed bag.
Sure.
I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. But I cannot believe how much I remembered. The beginning with the Jaws music, I remembered it. And I saw the clouds and I was like, oh, it's going to be dun, 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 dun. oh, there's that. Oh, they're gonna cut to that, and like, but like, I think I remembered probably 82% of this movie,
Isn't that
like
so funny?
scene to scene,
Right.
like lyrics, dialogue, facial expressions. It's insane, and I have not seen this movie in probably 30 something years.
Same.
Yeah.
I remembered
Yeah.
so much of it too, and I was obnoxious with Emily because I'm like. Matt was excited to watch it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Emily, we're watching Airplane. And I actually, so I forget what movie it was. It was a few weeks ago. Maybe it was either Risky Business or Clueless.
Mm-hmm.
I had rented it from the library.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of the previews before the movie.
Mm.
And that's what kind of put it in my head. I'm like, we need to revisit
Oh, probably
Airplane.
Risky Business is my guess.
It might have
there.
been, it was probably Risky Business. So, but it was, and I remember like when we met for those movies several weeks ago, I had suggested it because it was freshly in my head. So when I put it in, I'm like, Emily, you're gonna love this. Like, I just want you to watch it. Oh, not necessarily you're gonna love it, but I just wanted her opinion on it because it is such different humor.
Yeah.
So I was really curious about her expression. But my point is, when I remembered everything myself, where I'm at the point where I was sitting next to Emily and I see the clouds and I'm like, oh, Emily, look at this. Watch, put your phone down. Look, watch. And it's like, it's one of those movies you really do have to pay attention to.
Oh, yeah.
Because so much is in the background. So much is going on around what's happening that is funny. And so, yes, I felt the same way. Like, I remembered so much about it.
Yeah.
And you said you watched it a week ago.
Like a week ago, yeah.
And so...
Well, I mean, I can dive into my notes. Like, the first
in.
thing is I friggin' remembered the white zone, red zone. But what I did... And it's so funny. But what I definitely didn't catch is she's like, we both know.
I was so funny.
I didn't catch this when I was a kid. We both know what we're talking about, Vernon. You want me to have an abortion? Jesus Christ. This is like, oh my God. I
5 minutes
busted
into the movie.
out
The
laughing. I was like,
are still
I didn't.
rolling.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't catch that when I was a kid.
No,
I wouldn't
because it
know
was
what an
so...
abortion is. Yeah.
And what I really liked about that whole thing was it was such a slow burn to it.
Yeah.
It was such a slow setup. And they're going, of course it's like, they're walking, it's people are getting dropped
Arriving
off.
at the airport.
Driving up to the airport, and all you're hearing is, drop
Please don't
check
stop in the white zone.
Yes, you're right, exactly. Don't stop in the red zone.
Yeah.
Proceed to the white zone. And then you hear a couple of seconds later, please stop and don't stop in the white zone. And then you start realizing it's like they're actually fighting. And what's great also about this is you hear some of that. Then the next scene might be inside the airport, so you're not hearing it. And then it comes back to outside, and you're still talking about the red zone and the white zone. So that's funny enough as it is that they're fighting about it.
Yeah.
And then the zinger is, we know what this is about. You want me to have an abortion. And then you're like, holy crap. It's so freaking funny, but so in the background that I'm not surprised that you didn't remember that or didn't hear it or whatever, because you almost feel like the joke is over.
Yeah.
But it's really, like, the punchline isn't even there yet.
By the way, some trivia. That is a real husband and wife.
No.
And they really are airport announcers.
And she really did have an abortion?
That I don't know. The next note is like, and what I think is so funny is that they really do go big, kind of in the beginning with that plane crashing through the window.
Yes.
And when they're like, but did you notice that someone throws a baby up in the air?
I think I did notice that.
God, I never noticed that before. So the guy's directing the plane with the flashlight things, right?
Yes.
And someone's like, hey, where's the blankety blanket? It's like, oh, it's over there. And the plane instantly swings around and smashes through the building. But there's someone holding a baby, and everyone screams, and the guy throws the baby up in the air.
Yes.
But I was like, oh, they're really just going there. Jimmy Walker, JJ from Good Times, is checking the oil like it's a car, gas station. And then the pilot pays for the gas with his credit card.
The old-fashioned credit card machine.
So
oh my gosh, so funny. And these are things that I forgot but then remembered immediately.
Yeah. But I will say, now, when he does slip off the hood,
Yes.
and he's like, "Wah!" Like it's like, okay, I don't know. To me, it was like just funnier that he was like like as if he was working at a gas station.
Yes.
That was the funnier
Yes.
part. Now, but again, that's a middle-aged lens.
Yes,
situation.
and again, I think it's one of those jokes that just keep going, like
Right.
the announcers.
That's true.
It just
Right.
keeps going and going and going, which I liked about it. Some of these jokes, for you, it didn't work. But for me, it totally worked, that it just kept going
Yeah.
and going and going. Where today it might stop at checking the oil. You may not see him fall off. You may not see him bring the credit card machine over. I feel like the writing was really strong in that, no, we're going to keep on going and make it funnier and funnier and funnier.
Mhm.
And I think that happened a lot in this
Mhm.
movie.
I didn't notice that, when I did the intro, the put on seatbelts. I didn't notice that when I was younger. Probably because I couldn't, I just assumed it was
Couldn't
Spanish.
read.
And I couldn't read.
Yeah.
And, but El Noa You Smoko.
Oh, no, yes.
Oh my God.
And there was like a no sexa.
Oh, no sex, yeah, no sex, yeah.
Or something.
And my next big note
Mm-hmm.
is the old woman sitting next to, what's his name?
Robert Hayes' character,
The character
is
Ted.
Ted.
She's sitting next to him, and she's reading a pamphlet, The Great Jewish Sports
Do
Great
you have any light
material.
reading?
She's like, "Oh, there's this pamphlet, Great Jewish Sports Legends," and so
That's perfect.
then Ted is starting to talk to
Oh my
her,
God.
and she has her glasses on, and he just keeps going, and
Going,
she
yep.
slowly removes her glasses, and just kind of does a polite little smile at him. And the slightest of eye roll. Oh, it's a beautiful.
She's great.
beautiful
I was trying to look up
moment.
who that was because she looks so familiar to me.
She's on a very couple really big Golden Girls episodes for sure.
Maybe that's where
Yeah.
she looks familiar. She was great. I love the flashbacks. I mean, all right. Spoiler alert! I love this movie just as much as I did
okay,
last
good.
time. Okay,
Yeah.
there's a spoiler
Yeah.
alert. I'm also going to tell you.
Okay.
This is the amount of notes that I have.
Oh yeah, same. My
It
notes.
is a half a page of notes. Aside from the very beginning when I didn't really write notes, I've never had such a small amount of notes in a podcast episode. I was enjoying this movie so much. She was amazing. I loved the flashbacks, the meeting, the bar scene to me is still one of the funniest scenes I think in almost any movie I've seen. I love it so much. There's so many twists and turns about it. The Girl Scouts fighting
It's so funny.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I loved how it just kept going and going. And in the middle of them dancing, all of a sudden you see the Girl Scouts punching each other. And even at the very end when they're slow dancing, one goes
One just
flying
drops.
over the
Yeah.
balcony. Hilarious. Just so much of that made me laugh. The jukebox
Oh my
when
God.
someone gets killed. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be this very scary, I don't know,
rough
biker
bar. Yeah,
or whatever. They slam a guy into the jukebox. It starts playing disco music, Staying Alive, right? Of course. And this tough guy starts dancing in this very silly way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, all of it worked for me.
I love when he's like, when I saw her from across the room, I couldn't believe how beautiful she was. I asked the guy next to me. To pinch me, and he whispers in the guy's ear, "Pinch me," and the guy's like,
Gives him a look and
walks
slides
away.
away. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so damn funny.
I love that he throws her, and then she throws him.
Yes, all the
Really,
dancing is so
really
damn
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
So obviously fake, but I love that it was obviously fake.
Yes, even
The
when
Russian
the Girl Scout,
dancing.
and when the girl, like you said, when the Girl Scout falls at the very
Yes,
end, it's
obviously
super
it's a
fake.
dummy.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so funny. Even when he goes to, this girl would never dance with me or something like that. But luck was on my side that night. And so she's dancing with the guy and he gets stabbed in the back. And then not only is that funny, but she's dancing
like he
mimicking
is,
his
yeah.
moves. Pointing to oh my gosh. Everything, I just love that whole scene. That was so funny. And then if that's not funny enough, it comes back to present day and the woman is so bored she hung herself. So he's still talking and she's hanging there next to her. Oh my God.
This is a little interesting. Joey.
Joey Joey conversations.
Ever seen a grown man naked?
Oh,
And what's interesting is, so then he says, ever hang around a gymnasium? Do you like movies about gladiators?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that, and of course this went right over my head then.
Of course.
But Julie, what is her name in this? Elaine, there's a point where she realizes that this is not the right environment for Joey. And she's like,
Yes.
Joey, let's go back to your seat. That is something that is like, I'm being dead honest. I didn't catch that before. And this time around,
Well, were
I
you
was like,
like, I do like gymnasiums. I do like.
well, I was like, why is he
movies.
talking to him like that? I mean, it went right over my head, truly. Like, but now it's like, oh my God.
That was a little cringy part for me.
Yeah.
I loved the Roger over.
Oh, I didn't like that this time
my
around.
gosh.
I didn't like it this time
You know
around.
what? You know what I didn't like about it was it didn't go on long enough. Like I felt like it
Oh.
should have gone on long enough. Roger, okay.
I
over.
didn't.
Yeah.
That I
What?
didn't like this time
Huh?
around.
Huh? Oh my God, I was dying.
How about when Elaine, this is something else that went right over my head.
Oh, boy.
This little nugget of dialogue. Oh, Ted, all I have are memories. I remember when I used to sit on your face and... Jesus Christ. I remember when I used to sit on your...
I don't think I picked up on that either.
Here's the
But, yeah,
the full
I was
line. The
dying.
full line. I remember when I used to sit on your face and wiggle. I'm like, oh my God. Then she's like, oh, I found a lovely apartment. Beautiful mirrors on the ceiling. Like, what the hell? And it was like, obviously that all went way over my head when I was a kid.
Yes,
But
for
it's like
sure.
they clearly had a very sexual relationship.
Yes.
Like when mirrors in the ceiling is the big selling point
Oh
of the
my
apartment.
gosh, so funny. I loved the jive translation.
Great.
So not only when Barbara Billingsley comes to translate, but the translation at the bottom is so funny.
Yeah, and what's good is, and I was worried about this because it's
I
like I
was worried
remember the
about it
jive,
also.
and I remember I sort of remember the gay guy character in The Office.
Yes.
And I don't think there were ever jokes at them.
Right.
It was never at their expense. If anything, it was really playing it up and acknowledging like their personalities. Like the gay guy going like I can't remember what things he would say. He said something like
Well, what do you make of this? Oh, I can make it a brooch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, then he also. How about when he just unplugs the lights?
Yeah.
And he's just he giggles and he plugs them back in. I mean, they could have really made fun of the fact that he was gay. They didn't.
Right.
They could have really made jokes like that. It was so hard to understand these African American characters. They
Right.
don't.
No,
There's
it's
someone
just-
on the plane that completely understands.
Yes, I
and
agree.
There's never I never felt like it was like super cheap. I will say things that I really didn't like was, and I don't know why, Christina, the slapping of the woman really bothered me this time around. I didn't like it. I did laugh when the guy has the wrench in his hand and it
Somebody
keeps
with a
going
gun.
crazy and
An old
crazy.
lady with a gun.
That. I liked when it got ridiculous. I didn't like it when you're seeing her be slapped in the face.
Yeah.
I didn't like
No,
that.
I
That
can see
bothered
that.
me.
I can see how that would bother you, for
I-
sure.
Also didn't like Vicky from the Love Boat when the tube kept popping out of her arm. That bothered me. I'm like, wait, we're laughing because this girl who needs a heart transplant is no one's helping her because the tube popped.
All right. I remember laughing my butt off
Back
then. Although I did not like her acting in that.
Yeah.
The sucked in
A
face.
face. Yeah.
That always bothered me. It bothered me again this time around. I still found it to be funny.
Uh-huh.
I did like the fact that her mother finally figured it out
Yes,
eventually.
thank God,
So that
yeah.
worked. But I just thought it was I thought it was a funny scene.
Also, something interesting, they could have done more with that because remember, the plane is now totally off course. You should get the
Yes.
heart transplant in time.
Right.
I mean, that's
right,
never
after that
addressed.
scene, she was never
Yeah.
even seen after that. No, after that scene, she was never seen. But yeah, that
isn't
was
kinda
the
weird?
last part of it, yeah.
So again, so those are things I laughed at as a kid, and because of the nun being, I was slapped in the face by a nun once in my life.
Yeah.
But there were
you
things
were?
that I laughed back then. Like I laughed when the dog attacked the guy. This time I found it went on way too long. But this was so funny to me. It was like, Elaine, because of me, 6 men didn't return home from that raid.
And then
And she goes, 7. Lieutenant Zip died this morning. And he's like, and he does this big spit take, and you see like water like go across the screen.
Oh God.
So damn funny. The comedic
So
timing,
damn funny.
the dialogue. Julie Haggerty, her voice is just so perfect for this kind of a role.
So great.
So funny. I did actually like, I forgot, and it wouldn't have meant anything to me as a kid, when she smokes a cigarette after the inflatable guy. Just ridiculous things. Ethel Merman shows up. He's like, who's that guy that thinks he's Ethel Merman? I shouldn't have laughed, but I did.
Yes, same.
I did like when he's like, listen, it's Leslie Nielsen saying, no, or was it The Office? He goes, I have no reason to believe you can't land this plane and save the lives of everyone on board. And it cuts to Ted, and he has a vulture.
Yeah, the vulture's on the shoulder.
So again, a mixed bag for me, because there are things that went right over my head as a kid, but now there are things that as an adult I'm like, I cannot laugh at this in good conscience.
But not many things.
Not many, but
not
it's.
many things.
I did say this. So I mean, not to cut to the chase, but I did say I felt the same, and I really loved it back then. I really liked it now. I did think the weakest parts were in that office.
Same.
I thought it was a little boring.
So here's my big notes. There are a couple of the dialogue that I really thought was funny, and I feel like I shouldn't have felt it was funny, was when they did things like, a hospital, what is it? A big building with patients, but that's not important. That got the biggest laugh from Emily. She cracked. She was like, that was so funny. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I feel like if you told me that joke, I'd be like, that's kind of stupid. Lame, yeah. I laughed. I literally laughed. And then, when can you land this plane? I can't tell. You can tell me I'm a doctor. Things like that. I shouldn't have laughed. I know. But I laughed. Yeah. It was so damn funny. But I will say, it loses steam after it is revealed that the fish, when people start getting sick, not immediately after, but when they start panning to the office, like the airport, right? I agree. Like, that is when it kind of loses it for me.
It's a little boring.
It got boring. There were a few funny moments. Yeah. I mean, when he goes to pick up the guy and the dog is like so aggressive. That's what I just said. When I was a kid. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. When I was a kid, I laughed so hard at the dog attacking that guy and the woman being, oh, he likes to play, whatever. Like,
sit.
But now, I thought it went on way too long.
It went on long, but yeah, I still thought it was really, really funny. Just her reaction, not necessarily him being attacked, because you could tell
that's where it was
when
going.
You're looking at it, like the dog was happy. He was
not
wagging his tail and everything else. But she's just like, oh boy, oh, down. Just so funny in that way. But I mean, I feel like those moments in The Office, it was just boring.
I kept thinking about those things where you're saying, a hospital, what is it? Like, that reminded me very much of 30 Rock with yes. Oh my God, what's the page's name? Kenneth. And then Tracy Jordan. Mm-hmm. Like, that's very much dialogue that they would share. Yes. It reminded me of 30 Rock quite a bit. And the other thing was, good luck. We're all counting on you. He says it 3 times, and one of the times they've already landed the plane. Yeah. And he just comes in and says it again. I actually laughed at that. That's kind of all my notes, believe it or not. I thought Robert Stack was excellent. Robert Stack is the guy they bring him in.
He's great. Yeah.
Because he plays it. Actors. He plays it so serious. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, a couple of moments. Like, there was, what's his face? He's smoking the cigarette. He's like, looks like it was the wrong day to give up smoking.
Lloyd Bridges. I just felt he was a little wrong. I felt like I think he was trying to be funny, where the other people in those scenes were playing it really straight. So when I think there was one point, what does he like? He falls on the floor, right? And then he comes back up and grabs his hair and like falls back on the floor or something weird like that. Yeah. Like, it was a little too much, but I think a lot of that Office stuff just didn't work for me.
I agree. My question is, and I should have done research, but I did not. Lloyd Bridges, was he, because obviously this is a spoof on
Yes,
airplane
right.
movies, right?
Yeah.
Airports and all that kind of stuff. Was he in any of those airport movies?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, that's what I think so
Yeah.
too. And I think that was sort of a detriment because
Yeah.
he should have played it the way he did in the drama
right.
and the
Yeah.
the thrillers.
Yeah.
But he was like, "Oh, I'm in a comedy now, so I need to be
Yes.
funny."
Yeah, that
So
exact.
I think
Yeah.
that's where the problem was there.
Same note. And then the nun is played by Maureen McGovern. Does that name sound familiar?
Oh, yes, of course.
So she sang multiple different movie songs. She sang "Can You Read My Mind" from Superman.
Yep.
The Morning After from the Poseidon Adventure, a disaster movie, and We May Never Love Like This Again from Towering Inferno.
Oh my gosh.
She's kind of known for her movie songs.
But yeah, so I don't have any other notes.
Well, so budget, get this one, 3.5 million. 3.5. It made $170 million.
Wow.
Casting for Ted, it was actually written for David Letterman.
What?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
that's surprising.
And because he was doing stand-up and, David Letterman started as a weatherman, but he had done something and the Zucker team saw him and they're like, oh my God. But he just wasn't really an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bill Murray and Caitlyn Jenner also read for the part. So like Bruce Jenner and Bill Murray read for the part but
Leslie Nielsen?
no, of Ted.
Oh, of Ted.
Sorry, David Letterman was supposed to be Ted.
Okay,
And then
so
it went
I got that part, but
Okay.
when you took like a breath and it was like a different tone, and when you said Bill Murray, I could see him as the Leslie Nielsen character.
Totally. Yeah.
But not as the Ted character.
And interesting choices. So for Elaine, Sigourney Weaver auditioned.
I could see it.
Yep, and Shelley Long. I could
I
see
could
Shelley.
see
I
both
I
of
could see.
them.
I think I see Shelley Long more than Sigourney. Sigourney's so strong to me. Like I feel like I
Yeah.
didn't know if I could see her and Ted
But back
together.
then, it was a bit different. I mean, that was about the same
Well, it was
time as
before
like Rocky Horror.
It was way before Ghostbusters. I mean, Sigourney Weaver. So it's like, I mean, maybe it's unfair to even say that, but it's like
Wait, Sigourney Weaver, she was in Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? Am I
that was
thinking
Susan Sarandon.
Damn it! I knew it. As soon as I said it, I'm like, damn it. So when you said Sigourney Weaver, I was thinking Susan Sarandon.
Yeah,
So
I could see
think
that. I
Susan
could see that
Sarandon
too.
would be a good one.
I think Sigourney's would be too
Sigourney,
strong
I
for
agree.
Elaine.
She's a little too serious.
Yeah. But maybe
I agree.
But maybe that would have been cool. So for me, it's the same. I know it's the same. You said same or more for you.
I think it's the same.
Same.
I think it's
Yeah.
the same.
I think
Yes.
a couple lulls in the traffic office, but otherwise, I found myself laughing a lot.
Yes, and I was
Oh, my
pleasantly surprised. What?
One more.
Yes.
Did you laugh? I laughed at this when. First of all, I thought it was Julie McCoy from The Love Boat, and it's not. It's like Lorna Patterson. I'm like, what is she from?
Oh my gosh! Yes.
So she plays a stewardess, Lorna Patterson, and she's there and she's crying, and Leslie Nielsen says, "What's wrong?" And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm 30, doctor." And she's like, and I'm 30 and I'm still single. And he's like, "It's okay, they're there." And this woman comes out and she's like, "Oh hi, sorry to interrupt." He's like, "Are you doing okay?" She's like, "Yes, I mean, I'm very scared, but I'm just so lucky I have a husband." And, and the woman's like,
Oh my gosh. So funny.
So funny.
So funny. And of course, this spawned the series Naked Gun. Oh, and the TV series Police Squad.
Absolutely.
So I was all in on all of those. All of them.
Yep.
Loved it. All that dumb humor. So
I do have a match game.
And I also have a match game.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, just in case you have the same one.
Oh, that would be funny.
That would be funny. So, Brian, I bet you didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that on that flight,
Yeah.
there was actually a third option for dinner.
Interesting.
Yes. So they had steak,
Yeah.
they had fish, and they had a vegetarian option.
Oh.
Yes. So it didn't make people sick like the fish, but it did make people blank.
God.
So the vegetarian option, it didn't make people sick like the fish did, but it made people blank.
Oh shit! It's between two. I'm right. I'm going to the first answer. Ding.
Okay, what people didn't realize is on that flight, we had a third option, the vegetarian option, And that made people...
Gassy!
Oh, that's pretty good. I said it made people horny.
Weird.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I almost heard healthy.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I would have actually, you know what would have been better? It made people hungry.
You make everything sexual in Match Game.
That is how Match Game always worked.
Well, get ready for this one,
Why
Christina.
don't you look at a real match
I
game?
watch Match Game all the time.
Okay, and most of the time, the matches are sexual.
Match Game. Here's mine. Ready?
All right.
Good news.
What's the good news?
Ted finally found someone who could endure his entire love story.
Ooh.
Bad news. The person turned out to be blank.
Oh, yeah.
Ted
Someone
finally found
finally-
someone who could endure his entire love story. Bad news. The person turned out to be blank.
Okay, ding.
All right, the person turned out to be...
Freddy Krueger.
I had deaf, and I changed it to dead.
Oh, so you wanted to
Oh, yeah, you
switch
meant...
in.
Oh, so you thought like the actual person was.
Yes,
Okay.
that's. I'm like, what kind of person? What? That would have been. Yeah, that makes sense. The deaf or dead, either one would be good. They all ended up dead. Anyway, so that was Airplane.
And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.